Good Sunday morning. I'm KHEL meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are tracking this Arctic blast that is heading our way, at least within the next few hours. It is going to bring some storms with it, but also another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on is the likelihood that we're going to see temps falling to about freezing tonight here across the Houston area. So looking right now, we're seeing some cloud cover. Temperatures are in the low 70s, so just keep in mind that even though we're starting off like you probably don't need your jacket, we will see those temps fall throughout the afternoon hours once that cold front does make its way through southeast Texas. Looking at radar right now, we are starting to see some shower activity moving in from the north of our area, so just keep in mind that we could start seeing the radar fill in as that front continues its track closer to southeast Texas. So you are starting to see some rain moving into Montgomery County as well as Walker County, a little bit heavy in some locations, but there is no severe storms on radar as of now, but we could see these storms start gaining strength as it moves closer towards the coastal areas and into our inland areas. So as we look at future track, we are expecting this to continue sweeping through our area. You can see the frontal boundary just moving in towards the Bryan College Station area. That's where the front is, just already cleared Waco and the Temple Belton area. But as we look at future track, once this front moves through, we could get some isolated embedded cells that could pack a punch and become severe as we get closer towards around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But the main threat for the stronger storm activity is going to be mainly northeast of Houston. It includes Livingston, Cleveland, Liberty, but we can't rule out Harris County getting some of those stronger storms that could have some damaging winds, some possible hail, and we cannot rule out an isolated tornado with it. So as the front nears the coast, which is we're expecting that to be around 5, 6 o'clock, that's when we could see more stronger storms in and around the coastal area. So Galveston might see some strong storms just briefly. It's not going to be this long-lasting event through the day. We are going to see those winds pick up drastically out of the north between 25, 30 miles an hour, and then temps are expected to fall through the night and eventually falling into the low 30s. It's the reason why the National Weather Service is issuing that freeze warning for all of southeast Texas from midnight through the 9 a.m. hour. So we could see the first official freeze of our winter season. That's what usually happens when those freeze warnings are issued. So 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. impacts does include that damaging wind and hail. Of course, my computer graphic is running a little slow at the moment, but we are still tracking this storm activity as we are expecting the rain to sort of start filling in and moving in towards the Houston area within the next maybe hour or two. So cold weather alerts, freeze warning in effect from 12 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Monday. We're going to see maybe a brief hour or two of freezing temperatures. I know a lot of folks that probably are asking if we're going to be dealing with another February 2021 freeze. Of course, that's not likely. We are expecting this to continue to not really remain below freezing for days like we saw back in February of 2021. But just to keep in mind that it's important to maybe protect those plants and people and pets going into the overnight hours, as we are expecting those overnight lows to remain in the 30s for quite a while. So as we also look at tomorrow, so going into tomorrow, we're expecting those lows to drop to around 32 degrees, maybe even 30 degrees here across the Houston area. So definitely that's at freezing. Of course, remember, freezing is 32 degrees or lower. And it's important to note that we're expecting a dry, cold air for Monday and into Tuesday. We're not expecting that rain chance to really move in at least until Wednesday and Thursday of this next week. So looking at the overnight lows, 34, 33 degrees in the Heights, 32 in Acres Homes, Woodgate 32, 32 in Aldine. Areas north of Harris County likely to see temperatures in the 20s. 27 for a low in Huntsville, Conroe 28, Navasota 28 degrees. This is tonight and into tomorrow morning. Also keep an eye on the wind speeds. Winds are going to be out of the north between 20-25 miles an hour. So when you have high winds in combination with these cold temps, we're going to have a wind chill in the low 20s here across Houston for Monday morning. So if you're heading back to school or work tomorrow morning, this is how it's going to feel like outside. You want to get those heavy jackets ready, might want to layer up, maybe even take the kids to school so they don't have to spend prolonged time outdoors. but it's going to feel like the teens. Areas north of Harris County, Huntsville, Conroe, feeling like 18. And this is the wind chill when you factor in the winds as well as the cold temperatures are going to be at and around freezing. And then we get into Wednesday. Wednesday is when we're expecting this upper level disturbance to move into the south central U.S. and that's going to have some rain or precipitation associated with it. And the reason why I'm saying precipitation is because there is still some uncertainty on whether or not the precipitation is going to be freezing rain or a wintry mix for us here across southeast Texas. So models are showing most of the freezing wintry precipitation north and west of the Houston area. We're still going to get some moderate to heavy rainfall, but one thing that we're going to have to really keep an eye on is the low temperatures on whether or not this rain is going to be falling in the overnight hours when those temps drop to about 34, 33 degrees. So when that happens, that could give us some potential to see some freezing stuff fall from the sky. And that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as we go into the coming days. So no matter what weather model you see, whether it's on social media or TikTok, definitely take every winter weather model as a grain of salt. Of course, it's super challenging to forecast these types of events, of course, here in Texas, because we don't really get this weather here in Houston all that often. But just any model you see, take it as a grain of salt and just know that there is still some uncertainty on whether or not we're going to still see that. We could still see some freezing stuff falling from the sky here in Houston. So one thing that's important to note is that once this cold front moves through, overnight lows are going to drop into the low 30s. So that's freezing, and that's going to be dangerously cold. So protect your pipes, well, not actually pipes, not pipes, but protect your people, plants, and pets. And the reason why I'm not saying pipes is because we're not expecting the prolonged sub-freezing temperatures that we saw back in 2021, but we are expecting that rain to move in on Wednesday. And so when you have those low temperatures fall to about 34, 35 degrees, even though that's a couple of degrees above freezing, it's still possible to see some possible pellets fall from the sky as we head into Thursday and Friday of this week. So expecting this change to erupt within the next maybe few hours. I know you're probably walking outside and you're thinking, what cold weather, what weather change? Trust me, it's coming. And we're already able to see that from the temperatures that are coming in across Texas. So as we look at the situation right now, as we look at those Texas temperatures, those temperatures across the state, they're already below freezing in and around the Texas Panhandle. Abilene was at 50 degrees this morning, and then over the span of like 10 to 15 minutes, it went down to like 39 and then eventually to around 35. So as those current temps, that front definitely moving very fast across the Lone Star State, and we were expecting it to arrive here shortly. So look at those temperature differences right now. 19 degrees in Amarillo, 30 degrees in Lubbock, 35 in Abilene. Texas is about to be divided between spring-like weather and winter weather because that front is still racing. It's right now 67 in Austin. They've already dropped to 44 degrees out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and those temps are just going to continue to fall for that region. And so this is just a good indication that we have it coming. We have these cold temperatures coming, and along this cold front, once that cold front approaches southeast Texas, it's going to have some strong storms with it. And so that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So two things to prepare for: the potential for some possible strong storms within the next maybe hour or two, and then the potential or the likelihood that this cold Arctic blast is going to start impacting us as soon as tonight, as those lows are going to drop to around freezing. And that's the reason why the National Weather Service issuing that freeze warning that will be in effect from 12 a.m. to 9 a.m. as those overnight lows are expected to be drastically different from what we saw last night. So that wind chill is also a factor, but as of now, any storm that does form will have the potential for some damaging winds as well as some possible isolated tornadoes with it as we go into the next couple of hours. So something to keep an eye on, and you can always stay up to date, and we're tracking the latest on KHOU 11 Plus as well as on the KHOU 11 app. So wind chills, very, very cold tonight, but those severe threats include damaging winds, tornadoes, not expecting really large hail with it, and that's going to be early this afternoon, as soon as maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock, and that's when we're expecting that front to make it through the Houston area. It's moving very fast, even though it doesn't seem like it's moving fast from this map. We're expecting it's already just north of Austin. We're expecting that to arrive here as soon as 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, going into the next few hours. But radar is definitely showing that rain activity moving in from the north, and we're not looking at any severe storms as of now, but there is a potential for it going into the next few hours for areas mainly northeast of Houston, but we cannot rule out a strong storm or two to make it into the Houston area at least by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And of course, you can always get the latest on KHU.com and on the KHU 11 app. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez, and just going to once again show you a last look at the radar before I end the live here. But we're expecting those storms, definitely filling in north of Conroe and around the Huntsville area. And so rainy conditions about to start moving into our area that could give us some wet roadways. Be extra cautious if you do find yourself driving across southeast Texas, because we do have some rain coming our way, and we're also keeping an eye on that threat once that front continues its track closer towards the Gulf of Mexico. We will be tracking the latest all day for you every hour, and we will be back in about an hour to give you another update on today's drastic weather change here across southeast Texas. Good morning. I'm KHEO 11 meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are coming in at 10:35 with another update for today's anticipation for some strong storms with this cold front that is moving through Texas at the current moment. The National Weather Service issuing a tornado watch for Montgomery, Walker, Trinity, Polk, and San Jacinto counties until 6 o'clock this evening. So any storm that does flare up in this area, that includes Huntsville, Conroe, Spring, Cleveland, Liberty, Livingston, does have the potential for having some damaging hail as well as a possible isolated tornado. So any storm is going to have to be watched very closely, especially as we progress through the next few hours. So radar right now, we're showing some rain moving in into our northern areas right now. Nothing on severe as the current moment, but just keep in mind that we do see some moderate to heavy rain moving into northern Harris County as well as into Montgomery County along I-45. So our roadways are going to start to becoming wet as we go into the next few hours. Futurecasts, this is all associated ahead of that cold front that is currently moving through portions of central Texas. Right now you're seeing where you don't see near Rockdale, Franklin, that is where the cold front is right now. And we're able to definitely see that with the current temperatures across Texas. But as we look at future track, we could see more of these storms becoming a bit strong as that cold front moves closer towards the Houston area. So areas northeast of Houston does have the more potential for some stronger storm activity. And so it's something to keep an eye on in the next few hours. Likely between 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock is when we're expecting that frontal boundary to make its way into Harris County. So Liberty, Mont Belvieu, Cleveland, Livingston, even portions of Atascocita likely to see the more increased severe risk as that front moves through. So by 5 p.m., that front's going to near the coast and we could see some strong storm activity from Galveston to the Bolivar Peninsula, but we are still tracking that as we go throughout the next few hours. And as we look at those temperatures across Texas right now, those temps definitely indicating that that Arctic blast is racing across the state and is moving fairly fast. So right now, 68 in Austin. Look at the differences. You're able to see where the cold front is. It's 37 in Abilene, 31 in Lubbock, 21 in Amarillo. Texas is about to be divided into spring-like temperatures and winter-like temperatures. 21 in Amarillo, 38 in Midland. So that cold air is definitely on the way. You're probably walking outside here in Houston and you're probably asking yourself, what cold weather, what rain? Yes, it's coming, at least within the next maybe 2 or 3 hours. So the times to really look out for from now at least until 6 p.m. winds, hail, tornado with that cold front as it sweeps through southeast Texas. So watch the forecast, pay attention to the latest weather hazards, and you can do that by downloading the KHEU 11 app. And so to this morning, we got up to 71 degrees. Behind that cold front, we are expecting very cold temperatures. So look at these differences. 30 degrees for a low for tomorrow morning. That is below freezing for us here across the Houston area. So expecting that severe threat to still be in the picture going into when the front moves through. But also, the National Weather Service issuing a freeze warning for all of southeast Texas that will go into effect tonight, midnight through 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, as we could see those temps drop to at or below freezing. We could see some 20-degree temps here and there. So as we pinpoint exactly those temperatures for tonight, 34 for a low at East End, 33 in the Heights, Montrose 34 degrees. So areas north of the 610 loop likely to get to around freezing. Woodgate out in northwest Houston, 32 degrees. Aldine at 32, 33 at Hunters Creek Village. We could see 31 out in Cypress. Areas north of Harris County, of course, Tomball is in Harris County, but north into Montgomery County, we could see more of those 20-degree temperatures for tonight into Monday morning. So dangerously cold conditions expected. Also keep an eye on those wind speeds. Winds are going to be out of the north between 20-25 miles an hour. When you combine the wind speeds in combination with these cold temperatures, we're going to see the wind chill feeling like it's going to be in the low 20s here in Houston, even feeling like in the teens for areas north of the Beltway. So very cold air on the way. But first, we're going to have to anticipate the possibility for some severe storms that are going to be along this cold front as it makes its way through the area. So just kind of giving you an update of what we're expected to see by the middle of the week. Monday and Tuesday, which is tomorrow and the next day, we are expecting it to be dry, cold air. We're not expecting that rain chance or that precipitation chance to really come into the picture, at least until Wednesday night, Thursday, and that's all associated with an upper level disturbance that's going to be moving in towards Texas. So it's going to be Thursday when we're going to have to really sort of watch the forecast. Right now, models indicating that the winter weather, the winter precipitation north of Houston, but we're still going to see those lows in the 30s. So there is going to be a brief period where we could see some still freezing precipitation. There's still some uncertainty with that. But at the moment, right now, we're worried about the tornado watch that was just issued for portions of our area that will be in effect for until 6 p.m. as we could see some of these storms become a bit strong as we warm up and as we get to the warmer parts of our day. It's looking likely that the warmer parts of our day is going to happen between now and the noon hour. And then once that cold front arrives, we're going to see a vast temperature difference from now until tonight. So tornado watch that has just been issued for portions of Montgomery, Walker, Trinity, Polk, Sanchez, and counties. That includes Liberty, Cleveland, Livingston, Conroe, Huntsville, and tornado watch. These areas were just impacted by last weekend's tornadoes, and so we definitely going to have to be weather aware at least until 6 p.m. as we could see some strong storms moving through the area from now at least until 12 o'clock. So looking at radar right now, if you are watching me and just now joining me, we are seeing some rain moving into our northern areas. Right now there is no severe storm out there. It's just moderate to moderate rain, heavy showers that are moving through our northern area. So our roadways are going to start becoming wet from this point forward, but this is not associated with the cold front. The cold front is still making its way through central Texas. So this is ahead of that cold front. It's when that cold front moves closer towards the Houston area is when we could see the increased risk for that severe weather, at least and then we're expecting that maybe around 12 o'clock to the 2 o'clock hours. So something to keep an eye on. Even though I mentioned that the severe threat's going to be northeast of Houston, we still can't rule out a possible strong storm making it into Harris County going into early this afternoon once this cold front moves closer in towards town. So definitely be weather aware. It's the reason why the KHOU 11 weather team is issuing that weather impact alert for today. And right now, that front, which is going to be where you don't see rain, right before the Woodlands around 2 p.m. This is what we're looking at. We could still see some embedded strong cells making it into the Houston area, but most of that severe threat is going to be mainly northeast of the Houston area as we head into early this afternoon and eventually clearing the coast by 7 p.m. And that's when temperatures are expected to drastically drop into the overnight hours. So if you are planning to spend prolonged time away from home, you might want to just bring your jackets with you, maybe an umbrella, and be very cautious on those roadways if they do become hazardous and slick as we could, or as we're starting to see some rain now moving into our northern counties. Of course, I'm here tracking the storm activity for much of the morning, and we will be back in 1 hour for another update, especially as this cold front nears our area. Of course, you can get the latest weather information on KHOU.com and on the KHOU 11 app. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with the KHOU 11 weather team. Hello, I'm KHEO meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are tracking showers moving into the Houston area. Definitely seeing those winds starting to pick up to 20-25 miles an hour. Currently, temps are still a bit warm out there, 77 degrees, southwest winds at 11 miles an hour. But we are not seeing any severe storms as of now. You might notice those wet roadways that are now starting to come about. This is looking at I-45 north at Louetta. Be extra cautious on those roadways as we are starting to see those conditions, those roads becoming slick as that rain is moving through the Houston area. This was in about 30 minutes to an hour ago. The National Weather Service issuing that tornado watch for Walker, Montgomery, San Jacinto, Polk, and Trinity counties. That's going to be until 6 p.m. We are still tracking this cold front that is sweeping through Texas, and the rain that we're seeing now is all ahead of the front. The front's still making its way through the Austin area, and we're expected to arrive here in Houston between the hours of maybe 2-3 p.m. But as you see on radar, we're seeing that moderate to heavy rainfall moving into Houston. But the good news is that we're not seeing any severe or strong storm. We're just dealing with that nuisance rain. But this is all ahead of the front. Once that front makes its way closer towards the Houston area, we very well could see some storms pop off, especially northeast of the city of Houston. So winds right now, it's pretty breezy for areas along 45. Hobby Airport seeing a wind gust at 25-30 miles an hour. So conditions are going to start becoming a bit breezy here from this point forward, but that front still expected to sweep through, giving us some embedded cells that could pack a punch and become severe going into around the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour. And then eventually by 5 p.m., we're going to see those storms along the frontal boundary make its way into our coastal areas, moving through the Galveston area. And then by 6 p.m., the front's going to be out of the picture, and we are going to have to anticipate these definitely sudden drop in temperatures in the overnight hours, as you're able to see those winds and those overnight lows dropping into the 30s. So currently right now, this is looking across Texas. Texas is divided in terms of winter temperatures and spring-like temperatures. 68 in San Antonio. San Antonio was around 71, 72 degrees about a couple of minutes ago. So that's a good indication that the front is now making its way into the San Antonio, Austin area. 23 in Amarillo, 32 in Lubbock. That cold air is racing towards Houston. So if you are planning to spend some time out across the area away from home, you might just want to bring your jackets with you and be extra cautious on those roadways as those temps are expected to fall through the overnight hours. So from now until 6 p.m., we do have the potential for a strong storm or two to be in the picture. Any threat does include winds and damaging hail, as well as some tornadoes. So this morning we were about 71 degrees, but tomorrow morning we're going to be at 30 degrees. That's below freezing. And it's the reason why the National Weather Service has issued the freeze warning for all of southeast Texas until from midnight through the 9 o'clock hour tomorrow morning, is because it's going to be our first official freeze of the winter season. And so we are expecting those temperatures to be below freezing. So you want to protect your plants, of course, pets and people. Pipes, I think we are not going to see those freezing temps last for a prolonged period. It's just going to be a brief, maybe period of 1 to 2 hours of temps about 32 degrees. So definitely might still not be a good idea to protect those pipes, to have a exercise caution, but we are going to see that prolonged temperatures to be in not really that lasting that long in the overnight hours. So overnight lows, 32 in Aldine, Woodgate, 32 degrees. Just keep in mind, freezing point is exactly 32 degrees. And we're expecting freezing temperatures north of the loop tonight, even East Houston at 32, East End at 34. Areas north of the Grand Parkway, Tomball, 29 degrees, and even cooler for areas in Conroe, out in Huntsville, 27 degrees, 30 in Columbus. So extremely cold temperatures. And I've said this all morning, to pay attention to those wind speeds. Winds are going to be out of the north at 20-25 miles an hour. So you want to take into consideration that those high winds in combination with those freezing temperatures is going to present a wind chill at around low 20s. It's going to feel like 20 degrees tomorrow morning here in Houston. 18 in Conroe, 16 in Huntsville, 17 in College Station. I know a lot of us are probably traumatized from the February 2021 freeze. We're not expecting temperatures to remain below freezing for days at a time like we saw back in 2021, but we are expecting some dangerously cold temperatures across the Houston area for tonight, and we're going to be back above freezing once we get into the daylight hours for tomorrow. So one thing to note is that we are anticipating the arrival of this cold front maybe in the next 1 to 2 hours, and we will see those storms start picking up and that rain picking up, but we're already starting to see those winds gusting between 20 and 25 miles an hour in some locations. So it's just going to get breezy, and then we're going to see a sudden switch in those wind speeds and that wind direction as that front moves through, and we could see some strong storms along that frontal boundary. So we want to exercise some caution and stay ahead of the storm and at least have 2 ways to receive those weather alerts in case a severe storm does impact your area. So dangerously cold temperatures, 2 factors that we're keeping an eye on. We're talking about the severe weather risk and the surge of cold temperatures heading our way later on this evening and into the overnight hours. And we're definitely going to expect to see those temps remain below freezing, or actually remain cold at least for quite some time. And as if you are just now tuning in, we are anticipating Monday and Tuesday to be a dry, cold air day. So it's like we're not expecting any precipitation chances on Monday and Tuesday, just that dry, cold air expected. It's going to be on Wednesday and Thursday when we're going to see this approaching upper level disturbance, a low pressure system moving in from the west, and that is going to be bringing us some precipitation across Texas and some possible significant rain chances for us here across Houston. However, if that rain does fall during the coldest times of the day, we could see some freezing precipitation falling from the sky here across the Houston area. So take any weather model you see like a grain of salt. Winter weather events here in Texas a little bit tricky to forecast. So even though you see that those that snow ice mix north of us and west of us, we could still see that here across the Houston area. So whether you see these models on social media or on air, just keep in mind that there's still a degree of uncertainty involving what's going to be taking place on Thursday, because we are still expecting low temperatures in the 30s. So when you have those low temperatures in combination with that precipitation, it's very well possible that we could get a winter mix. But if we remain above freezing, it's not going to stick. It's going to be just probably falling from the sky. It's going to be mostly a cold, wet rain, one of those miserable feeling type situations for Thursday and Friday. But if that rain does fall in those overnight hours and morning hours, that's where we could see some freezing precipitation in the picture for us here across southeast Texas. So still some uncertainty, but just keep in mind that after today, after this evening, once this cold blast makes its way through the Houston area, which is about to be in the next maybe 2 to 3 hours, we are expecting the surge of colder temps. Highs are going to struggle to make it out of the 40s. If you are heading back to work, just get those heavy jackets out. You might want to dress in layers if you're heading out tomorrow, because it's going to be dangerously cold across the Houston area, even though right now we're dealing with comfortable conditions. So significant weather changes on the way, starting as early as maybe 1, 2 o'clock. We're already starting to see that rain come in before the front arrives. But right now we're not seeing any severe storms on radar. But that very well could change once that cold front makes its way closer towards the Houston area, going into the next maybe 2 to 3 hours. And like I said, the National Weather Service still keeping that tornado watch in effect for a good portion of our counties here across southeast Texas, which includes the Woodlands, Huntsville, even Livingston, Cleveland are under that tornado watch. So significantly cold temperatures. We still have that weather impact alert for today, which is the anticipation of the strong storms associated with this cold front, and we're tracking the latest for you. And as always, you can get the latest forecast on KHOU.com and on the KHOU 11 app. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your latest weather update as we track this Arctic blast as it sweeps and is racing towards the Houston area.